Today, you're gonna see my 3.5 years calisthenics journey. Let's go! This is me. My peers always have been a head taller than me, hence I hated my height. When everyone dreamed of becoming an engineer, a lawyer, a doctor, or a coder, I dreamed of having the same height as them. Time flew by, but there were no significant changes in the growth of my body. On this picture, we were graduating high school. At that time, my height stopped growing and it was 5 feet 2. I weighed 46 kg. So, girls didn't want to date with me, but I really wanted. Yeah, not even dating. They avoided me at a distance of 10 meters. On the top of that, some insolent people at the first opportunity tried to somehow offend me. A couple of times I tried to approach them in the same way. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Therefore, I was very insecure about my look. Also, I hated myself because of the inaction to change something. So, I decided to somehow train my body. Even if I couldn't change the size, anyway I could change its functionality. Since childhood, I have had an interest in calisthenics. I wanted to do these beautiful skills. Especially the planche for me was the highest point of mastery, power and control over my body. Moreover, calisthenics is the only sport that I could do consistently, anywhere, anytime, because it doesn't require some specific equipment. So, after finishing school, I went to China to study my bachelor degree at the Shenyang Polytechnic University. There, I began to train for 5 or 4 hours every day, sometimes even more. Passion for calisthenics plus strive for change gave me so much energy. Therefore, I was progressing pretty fast. In 2 months, I was able to hold a handstand. Of course, then it was not stable and looked like a banana. Thus, in order to learn a perfect gymnastic version of it, I've spent 15 months. Speaking of a handstand, I am a huge fan of this skill. I've spent so much time to learn different variations of it. Sometimes, I even thought about breaking the handstand push-up world record. At that time, my max was 31 reps. Unfortunately, I stopped training it because since childhood, I have had problems with my eyesight. And every time after a long handstand session, my vision was blurred. I guess health is more important than a world record. So I couldn't finish the job. Speaking of other skills, after 5 months of training, I was able to do 8 muscle-ups. After 7 months, I was able to hold a front lever. It really surprised me because I wasn't doing some specific exercise to learn front lever. So at this moment, for the first time, I said thanks to my height. By the way, my posture also was getting better day by day. I loved it. But I had a huge problem with the planche because when I was 9 years old, I fell off the horse and got a serious shoulder injury. As you know, the most important muscle group in holding the planche is the anterior deltoid. So when I tried to hold planche or do some planche related exercises, I was feeling sharp tingling pain on my right shoulder. So I couldn't train it more than once a week. That injury was slowing down my planche progress really badly. It was disappointing. Therefore, in order to approach training more competently, I began to watch videos and read books about gymnastics. Then I started learning English, because the best information that I needed was in English. Once I came across a book called Overcoming Gravity. Oh my god, this is the best book on bodyweight training I've ever read. It contained information on how to train static skills if you had an injury. After reading it, I leveled up my training routine, so totally it took me 1.5 years of training and experimenting to hold my static dream skill for 10 seconds. Also, by that time, the pain in the lower back, which used to bother me, disappeared on its own. Perhaps it's somehow related to calisthenics. On the top of that, I started to look a little more jacked. Of course, I didn't train to become like Arnold. Mostly, I wanted to master these static skills. Then, I started strengthening my fingers. I did Bruce Lee's push-ups, held a handstand on my fingers. But on one unlucky day, I lost balance and then dislocated my left ring finger. I remember how it was bending. Then in a shock state, I pushed it to the right and my finger quickly straightened like a spring. Afterwards, I couldn't move this finger for a month. For the first 1.5 years, due to the lack of like-minded people, I always trained alone. After the classes, I rarely spent time with others. Mostly, I was around pull-up bars in the campus playground, where no one trained on a consistent basis. And sometimes, I was in a dorm room, learning something interesting, etc. Soon, due to loneliness, I got depressed. In order to somehow be around others, I hung out in nightclubs a couple of times. But there I felt even worse. Of course, there were guys who were also training, but they were interested in other sports like basketball, bodybuilding or running, but not calisthenics. So I closed myself in a dorm room, and instead of training I was just glued to the phone all the time. Plus beating the meat 5 times a day. Because this was the only source of dopamine. Also, while scrolling my phone, I saw that everyone has a great results, good relationships, already chilling in Monaco at the age of 20, drinking the right water in the right time, in the right way, in the right position, have a fit body and smiling with a perfectly white 32 teeth. I looked at their lives, and inside me there was an inexplicable feeling of worthlessness. At a certain moment I was tired of my own mental games, and I also realized that spending my energy to those worries and anxieties is the most selfish and useless activity I can do for myself and for others. Thus, I decided to lift my ass from the bed no matter what and to go look for a calisthenics gym. In that city with 8 million people called Shenyang, there wasn't any calisthenics gym. Also, I found only one gymnastics gym, and there I met 3 Chinese dudes who liked calisthenics. We started training together. Yes, on those days I was happy as never before, but there was one problem. I couldn't afford a membership to that gym. Luckily, those dudes knew how to get in without a subscription, so we trained there for free. But on the 3rd day, because of my stupidity, the security guard noticed me. From that moment, I couldn't enter the gym anymore. Of course, I didn't want to lock myself in a dorm room again and beat the meat all day long. Luckily, at that difficult time, by a chance I read Steven Pressfield's book called The War of Art, which inspired me and changed my mental state. It gave me the energy to continue my training at that playground. Then I started to learn making videos, because the idea of sharing stories and my calisthenics progress through a video and building a community of like-minded people fired me up. So I started training like never before. Therefore, my progress started skyrocketing. So during these 3.5 years of training, there were some long breaks from calisthenics, but sometimes I trained 7 days a week without a rest day. So I roughly counted the days in which I trained, and it is about 1,000 training days. Now, enjoy my top skills and peak physique that I was able to achieve in my calisthenics journey. Stop. This is me. My peers always have been a head taller than me. But I love my hate.